Clark fire away and hits a three.
Your left hand.
Clark just spins away from Hayes. Hayes fires and hits.
What a tough two.
Clark launches and hits.
Let me set the scene, because what happened at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Friday night wasn't just another basketball game. It felt like something much bigger than that. Caitlin Clark entered the arena carrying more than a game plan. She arrived under the heavy weight of an entire week filled with noise, overblown narratives, and the kind of scrutiny that often surrounds athletes who become impossible to ignore. Yet none of it seemed to affect her. There was no sign of doubt or hesitation. Instead, she brought pure intensity, a locked-in, laser-focused edge that elite competitors reach when everything feels personal. From the opening moments, it was obvious this wouldn't be an ordinary night. Everyone in the building was about to witness what happens when talent, pressure, and emotion all collide at once. But to truly understand this game, you have to zoom out. Athletes who reach the threshold of greatness eventually encounter a different kind of challenge, not a physical one, and not even purely competitive. It's mental. It's the moment when the battle extends beyond the court and spills into press rooms, broadcast discussions, social media debates, and the broader narrative surrounding the league itself. It never really stops. That's the reality Caitlin Clark stepped into this week. And she didn't flinch. The day before tip-off, at her press conference, she faced every question directly. No rehearsed escape lines, no attempt to redirect attention, just straight answers aimed at the heart of the discussion. In that moment, it was clear she wasn't simply reacting to the narrative. She was cutting right through it.
I went back and looked, because of all these narratives that are going crazy online, about when I told my mom I wasn't going to play the game. 4:47, and you guys found out at 5:20. So, one of the most important people in my life found out 40 minutes before.
She addressed the injury timeline directly, laying out the exact sequence of events that had been distorted and reshaped throughout the week by segments of the media. With calm, almost clinical precision, she presented the facts in a way that reflected someone no longer willing to let misquotes or misinformation go unchallenged. Her explanation made the situation unmistakably clear. The timeline was too tight, too precise, too internally consistent for any notion of a cover-up to realistically stand. It wasn't just slightly off, it didn't hold together logically or practically. What came across at that podium wasn't an athlete trying to manage fallout. It was a clear boundary being drawn. For the first time that season, she appeared noticeably more frustrated than usual, and it was impossible to miss. That frustration didn't feel performative or tailored for media consumption. It came across as contained, deliberate, and rooted in prolonged irritation. Someone who had watched narratives shift repeatedly without responding, until now. The outlets that had circulated those claims were also watching that press conference. Whether they wanted to or not, the response was there. The hope may have been that it would fade quickly before the next game, but moments like that don't always disappear on schedule.
They kind of did everything they could to stop Caitlin. And you got to give Nakase credit, because she is the guard stopper. That's her thing. That's her thing. She's able to stop guards. And she did everything to try to stop Caitlin.
And then she answered in the only way that ultimately matters, on the court. What Caitlin Clark delivered against the Golden State Valkyries the very next night went beyond a simple win. It wasn't just a solid performance or another box score achievement. It was a statement, expressed through the language of high-level competition, aimed at every reporter who amplified the misleading narrative, every analyst who repeated it, and anyone who has ever tried to minimize her influence. The Indiana Fever walked away with a 90-82 victory, but the meaning behind it carried far more weight than the final score itself.
Moment with Solana at halftime that led to the double text.
I was just trying. Oh, did I get a technical?
You did.
Oh, no way. That just makes sense for the rest of the night, so I'm not surprised. Wow, I could have got ejected. I should have been a little safer in the second half. Okay, well, I guess I have some fines.
The box score only gives a surface-level snapshot of what happened, but it doesn't come close to capturing the full story. To really understand this game, you have to go beyond the numbers, because what unfolded on that floor can't be explained by statistics alone. The film reveals a very different reality. What it shows is less like a typical basketball game and more like a battle. every possession layered with contact, pressure, and rising tension. This breakdown doesn't hold anything back. It looks at the physical challenges Caitlin Clark faced in the first half, the double technical foul that appeared to shift her energy, and even the opposing head coach's post-game comments acknowledging her as a player who simply can't be contained. When all of it is connected, a clearer picture emerges, one that explains why this performance stands apart from anything she's done before. She wasn't just playing under pressure. She was dealing with a physical defense, external media scrutiny, and an emotional edge all at once. Most players face one of those challenges at a time. She was facing all three simultaneously, and instead of collapsing under it, she turned it into fuel. That kind of response isn't something you can easily coach or teach. It reflects a competitive mentality that only a small number of athletes ever reach, and even fewer can fully articulate. That's why this moment deserves full context, not surface-level coverage. And yet, it's likely that much of the mainstream narrative will move past the most important details. This breakdown isn't going to do that. At the height of the first half, after tension had been building possession by possession, things finally boiled over. Caitlin Clark drove hard to the rim and engaged in a loose ball battle with Golden State Valkyries forward Janelle Saleon, where contact quickly escalated the situation. Saleon reacted immediately, stepping into Clark's space, and the exchange turned personal within seconds. Words were exchanged, emotions flared, and both benches began to inch closer as the moment threatened to spill over completely. Indiana Fever guard Veronica Burton stepped in to physically separate the two before it escalated further. After review, officials assessed double technical fouls, one on Clark and one on Saleon, before order was restored and the intensity of the moment was finally brought back under control.
Thought she was great. She's an emotional player, and it's one of the things that makes her great. And I thought that she channeled it in a way that needed to be channeled for us to be successful. And
Both teams went into halftime with an intensity that didn't feel like rest. It felt like pressure building behind a locked door. And while much of the mainstream coverage will barely scratch the surface of what that double technical changed, the real story starts there. Caitlin Clark isn't someone who manufactures drama or seeks confrontation. That has never been her identity. What defines her is how she absorbs everything the game throws at her: physical contact, officiating decisions, outside narratives, and turns it into performance fuel. The altercation with Janelle Saleon didn't happen in isolation. It came at the end of a physically demanding, emotionally charged stretch shaped by a week of distorted injury narratives and constant public scrutiny. That buildup reached a boiling point, and instead of disrupting her focus, it sharpened it. When she returned for the third quarter, there was no easing into the game. She immediately attacked, then buried a deep pull-up from well beyond the arc in a tied game as the arena erupted. In the same sequence, she engaged in a tense exchange with Tiffany Hayes, reflecting the heightened competitive edge that defined the moment. What followed wasn't just scoring, it was control. She finished with 22 points, 9 assists, and 4 made threes in 32 minutes, guiding Indiana through a defensive scheme designed specifically to limit her. But her impact went beyond scoring. Her tempo, passing, and decision-making elevated the entire Fever offense, especially Aaliyah Boston, who delivered a dominant 20-point, 16-rebound performance fueled by Clark's ability to create rhythm and clean looks. Even opposing head coach Natalie Nakase acknowledged post-game that Clark forced constant adjustments and exploited gaps in the defense that shouldn't have existed, disrupting their entire game plan. In the end, this wasn't just a win. It was a statement performance where pressure, scrutiny, and physical play all converged, and Clark responded by taking full control of the game from start to finish.